Good afternoon, y'all. Shade Tree Joe. I apologize for the wind as usual. Welcome to Oklahoma. It's a nice pre-spring day out, and today I'm going to be working on Kimmy's Jimmy. When I bought this truck, 79 GMC 1500 Sierra, I bought it as a project. I knew full well that it was not a running and driving truck. Yeah, the wind is just blowing this thing around. The 350 that's in it got left sitting with the air cleaner off, and of course water got down the carburetor and down into the motor to the point that I literally drained a gallon of water out with the oil. So I know it's not cool and it was rainwater most definitely, but I'm going to try and save this motor to some extent without having to tear it down. I've got another 350 that came out of Kim's grandfather's truck, which was her first pickup truck. Good afternoon, y'all. Shade Tree Joe. I apologize for the wind as usual. Welcome to Oklahoma. It's a nice pre-spring day out, and today I'm going to be working on Kimmy's Jimmy. When I bought this truck, 79 GMC 1500 Sierra, I bought it as a project. I knew full well that it was not a running and driving truck. Yeah, the wind is just blowing this thing around. The 350 that's in it got left sitting with the air cleaner off, and of course water got down the carburetor and down into the motor to the point that I literally drained a gallon of water out with the oil. So I know it's not cool and it was rainwater most definitely, but I'm going to try and save this motor to some extent without having to tear it down. I've got another 350 that came out of Kim's grandfather's truck, which was her first pickup truck. And that 350 I had gone ahead and built and had running in Ethel for a while. I could probably go ahead, well, I know I can put it in this GMC, but at the same point, if we decide to sell it, I don't want to have to pull the motor back out. I made a deal with Kim that when we sold the C10 that it came out of, that we wouldn't sell the motor. So, you know, I gotta keep her happy too. But in the meanwhile, like I said, I'm gonna try and save this one, and so we're gonna tear into that today. It's 1979 GMC 1500 Sierra. I'm probably not gonna do a whole lot with the tripod today because of the wind. So, anyway, I'll go ahead. I got the hook back right now. Pull that tripod over. Allegedly, this motor's been gone through. It's got some sort of camshaft in it, so on and so forth. And I honestly don't know. I mean, obviously they took it apart enough to go and spray paint things, and they put this stupid braided stainless steel wire on that likes to stab fingers. I'm gonna take that mess off. And like I said, today I'm gonna pull out the spark plugs, see what cylinders have water in them. I'm gonna pull the valve covers off, free up the valves, so when I do finally get the motor freed up, we won't be bending push rods and dealing with stuck valves. So we're going to hose everything down with WD-40 and let it soak. And like I said, I'll put some vinegar down the cylinders and we'll go ahead and get those piston rings freed up. But in the meanwhile, I want to go ahead and clean up some of this mess, at least get the braided stuff out of the way and some of the other stuff out of the way so we can actually work on the motor. Okay, so here's the spark plug out of cylinder number 2, and I mean, it's not pretty, but it's functional. I was expecting to see more evidence of water, but I'm sure there's rainwater that was in this cylinder. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to keep going down the line and we'll go with what we got. All right. right, here's the cylinder, or spark plug of cylinder number 4, and it's definitely wet with rainwater. So that one, I'm sure, well, I know all these cylinders are going to be hosed up. It's just a matter of how much I can clean them up without having to disassemble the motor. So anyway, fingers crossed. And of course, the deeper I dig, the uglier things get. This is cylinder number 6. And I mean, at least the spark plugs are still coming out, but it doesn't hold a lot of promise at this point. There may end up being a Craigslist motor going in this thing before I'm done. Yeah, lo and behold, number 8 looks halfway decent of what junk has come out so far. So it is what it is. I'm not terribly impressed, but again, I did not buy this truck for the motor. The motor was an afterthought. All right, starting in on the driver's side, here is number 1. Electrode's a little bit moist. Again, rainwater. And I did take the time to drain all the water out. That was last year when I acquired this truck. So, you know, it's had some time to sit, and it's been covered up since I brought it home and started draining everything out of it. But, yeah. So, like I said, we're working on the driver's side. 3, 5, and 7 are yet to come out. Alright, so there's cylinder number 3. And I mean, it obviously sat with water in it. It's got rust all built up around the electrode and whatnot. So I'm sure that cylinder's full of nothing but rust and all the rainwater residue. Okay, and there's cylinder number 5. Again, quite horrible looking. Yay. So they really did not do this truck any favors at all. When I bought it, the hood was off, the air cleaner lid was off, actually the air cleaner itself was off, and the carburetor was just sitting exposed to the weather. We'd had several rain events, and I don't know how long it'd been sitting like that, but like I said, there was an extra gallon of water, or 8 gallon of water that came out of the oil pan along with the motor oil. So every cylinder is going to be full of water to some extent. And this is, gosh bless wind. This is the extent of what we're going to have to deal with. Alright, there it is. Cylinder number 8. Oh, sorry, number 7. Since we're on the driver's side. But, yeah, I mean, not pretty, not horrible, but definitely had moisture. So anyway, like I said, the cylinders are full of water, or were full of rainwater, and they are going to be filled with white vinegar to help dissolve the rust that's going to have the rings frozen. I got to pull the valve covers off and hose the valves down with WD-40. So hopefully I can go ahead and get them unstuck, because I'm assuming they're going to be stuck as well into the valve guides. So if I get the valves unstuck, then with the vinegar in the cylinders, I should be able to go ahead and turn the motor by hand once the spark plugs are back out. Like I said, I'm going to put the vinegar in the cylinders, put the plugs in, and let it sit for a couple days, and let the vinegar work on the rust. I've done this before with a tractor motor, and it worked just fine. And the weather's going to be nice enough I can actually get out here and work on stuff, as long as work on this, as long as my work doesn't get in the way. So there we have it. I'm trying to go ahead and save this motor as much as I possibly can. It's a small block 350. It's nothing special. I was told there was a camshaft in it of some sort, but I really don't know anything about the motor other than what was told to me. The truck itself had been gone through. I'm actually the second owner of it. It was family owned before I got my hands on it. It's been repainted once. It was a high school kid that had the truck, and he did go through the motor, did drive it, and eventually hit something with the left front, which boogered up the front bumper and the front fender a little bit. But it's a good clean truck. It's worth saving. Even being just a base model square body, these square body trucks tend to hold value, and they're going up as time goes by. So I want to go ahead and save it. My wife Kim, her first pickup truck was a 78 C10 with pretty much the same drivetrain, turbo 350 small block, 373 rear end. And she drove the wheels off of that thing, pulling horses, had a horse trailer that she hauled around, and actually went through that motor, had rebuilt twice. Third time it dropped an exhaust valve seat, which went through the motor, and I went ahead and pulled the motor out, swapped in a 454 that she was able to continue using that to tow with, and did a great job. Meanwhile, that original 350, I went ahead and had it taken out 60 over, and then rebuilt it, put it in Ethel, drove it in Ethel for a while, and now it's sitting on a engine stand sealed up in the carport, waiting for another opportunity to go ahead and come back to life. But I don't know that I'll put it in this truck yet. This truck may or may not be one we keep around, but if it's something that we do turn around and sell, I definitely need to go ahead and make sure that her motor stays with us. She doesn't want to go ahead and let that part of it go. I kind of had to fight with her a little bit to go ahead and sell the C10 when we did, but we were in a position where things needed to change, and the truck needed to go to somebody that was going to do something with it. At that point, we had so many other things going on and no place to store it, and so rust was becoming an issue. And being what was originally an Arizona truck, to see holes start appearing in fenders and cab corners just because it's sitting and having rainwater run off all over it was not something either one of us wanted to see. So it went to a good home. They loved it. They bought it for the motor, but found out it was worth more. So anyway, back to this. Okay, just for reference, this is the quadrajet that was sitting on top of the motor. It had been left to go ahead and sit in the rain, and this is the bottom side of it, end result. All this calcification and whatnot on the aluminum body. The throttle plates are froze. The top side, the vacuum, or not the vacuum, the choke plate and the vacuum door on the secondary side, they still move just nice like they should, but the rest of this carburetor is pretty much garbage. So, like I said, they didn't do any favors by letting it sit in the rain. Oh well. Good morning, Shade Tree Joe here. As you can tell by the wind, it's springtime in Oklahoma, and I'm about to go ahead and get my butt in gear and start working on Kimmy's Jimmy. So stay tuned. I'm gonna see if I can't get this 350 unlocked after sitting for I have no idea how long with a gallon of water in the oil pan. Thanks to the carburetor sitting uncovered, the hood sitting off for, again, gosh only knows how long. So we'll see what's going on. See you in a bit. And there it is right there. This is the one we're fixing to go ahead and see if we can't get to at least run. As you can tell by the wind and maybe the tractor noise in the background, I'm getting ready to go ahead and shove it up on the slab underneath the shade trees. And we're going to fill up the cylinders with some vinegar and pull the rocker arms off and start tapping valves loose. And hopefully, after a good soak with some vinegar inside, we should be able to at least turn it over and maybe save the motor. I don't know. We'll find out, or at least save the motor for right now anyway. I'm not too worried about it. I've got a built 350 sitting in the carport. It's been sealed up for a while. And if worse comes to worse, we'll drop that in. All right, first things first. A few weeks back, I went to pull the spark plugs out, took a look at it. And, yeah, you can see where there had been moisture sitting in a couple of cylinders, moisture being water. Anyway, At this point, I got to go ahead and pull the accessories off so I get good access to the valve covers and the rockers. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the alternator, get that wiring out of the way, miscellaneous brackets and whatnot, get those out of the way, come over here, get the air conditioning compressor and brackets out of the way, and then go ahead and take the air compressor and blow out all of that trash down in there so we don't get any more debris into the cylinder or into the motor, because I know it's full of rust. But you know, let's try and salvage what we can. Listen, I'm going to try and soak the cylinders with white vinegar and free things up. Go ahead and pull the rockers off, free up the valves, make sure they're not stuck, and then we'll see if we can't go ahead and turn this thing over. But a little bit at a time. It's not going to run anytime soon. I've got wiring to repair thanks to Ricky the rat getting underneath here and chewing on things. But all in good time, and don't mind the pink bale twine. I used that to hang the hood up while I was getting it back on myself with the tractor. So that needs to come off too. Anyway, we'll get to this. All right, so there we have it. I've got the air compressor. One more time in English. I've got the air conditioning compressor out of the way. It's unbolted, but still hooked up. Not that there's much of a charge in it. Got the air compressor out and blew out all of the garbage around the valve covers off the intake manifold area. And now I should be able to go ahead and unbolt those valve covers probably once I pull that EGR valve out of the way. Should be able to go ahead and lift all that up and out, and we'll have a look at the rockers, see what that whole mess looks like. Back when I brought this truck home, there was literally a gallon of water in the oil pan because the truck had been sitting in the rain with the hood off, no air cleaner on top of the carburetor, and all that water just went down the carburetor, past the throttle blades and into the cylinders, past the rings and down in the oil pan. So we'll see what we can salvage. The carburetor's junk, I know that. I'd already planned on replacing the intake manifold anyway, get rid of this stalker. But either way, I mean, if this motor if I can save this motor, great. If not, I've got the other 350, which will use the same intake manifold once I go ahead and get my hands on one. So anyhow, we'll get after this here in just a quick minute. I'll show you what we got. Well, friends, I'll tell you right now, when I pulled this valve cover, there was a donkey braying in the background. No exaggeration. It is crusty, it is nasty. It's obviously seen a lot of water sitting inside of it at some point in time. I'm not holding out a lot of hope for this. I mean, it's it's freaking filthy. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm probably just wasting a lot of time doing this, but you know, it's not hurting anything other than time. So yeah, that's the one side. I haven't got the other one yet, but holy crap. Yeah, buddy. So, and interestingly enough, that is the top side of the valve cover that would have been up by the intake manifold. So yeah, that's part of where some of the water came in, but again, this thing just set out with no hood on it and stupid little breathers, no air cleaner, and yeah, somebody made probably a good amount of garbage out of this 350. It may end up being a boat anchor, which, I mean, I didn't buy this truck for the motor anyway, but it sure would have been nice to go ahead and save it. And I'm still gonna give it a shot, but I'm not holding much hope for this. I think this motor is garbage. It's probably not gonna be much more than garbage, even if I do go ahead and get it to start. So yeah, okay, it is what it is. Yep, the driver's side is equally as crusty. This is probably, well, without a doubt, this is the nastiest motor I've ever considered working on at any stretch. So here's what I'm going to do. I'll go ahead and pull the rockers off and take a vacuum cleaner, get the shop vac out, suck out all the rust that I can, hose down the valve guides with WD-40, see if I can't go ahead and get that shit to maybe get the valves to move back and forth a little bit, up and down, and then probably take a wire brush to the rocker arms as much as I can, wire wheel, and the rocker balls, get those cleaned up. I've got a set of push rods. I'm not going to waste good push rods on this thing, but you know, first let's see if we get to turn over. If we get to turn over, then we'll consider messing with it a little bit more. But I doubt seriously, if I do get this to run, that it's going to stay running for long. I figure I'll probably develop a rod knock pretty darn quick, because it is just, quite frankly, wasted. Somebody took a perfectly good 350 and left it out in the weather and didn't bother to try and protect it at all, because their son went ahead and ran into something when he should have been out running around with it. And so he left the truck sitting parked, and that's the end of it right there. It's a shame, but like I said, I've got a motor to go in, so it's not going to be a big loss. It's just an annoyance. But nothing but time and money. All right, so here's where we're at. I got all of the rockers off now. I've got most of the push rods out. There's still a couple that are stuck. I've got all the valves on the passenger side moving again. I've got, I think, all but one on the driver's side moving again. I managed to go ahead and drop one of the rocker nuts down into the lifter valley through the head on the passenger side. So the intake manifold at some point is going to have to come off. I really think this motor is going to be garbage, so I'm not sweating it a whole heck of a lot. What I am going to do, though, because I am afraid that the lifters are probably stuck in the bores at this point, which means that once I go ahead and try turning the motor, I'm probably going to wipe out the camshaft. So the plan is to go ahead and get about a gallon or two of diesel fuel and dump it down through the holes in the cylinder head into the lifter bores, or well, in the lifter valley, I should say, and let that soak while the vinegar is sitting in the cylinders. And hopefully between the two, that should be enough to go ahead and get things to where they can move freely. And like I said, I really don't have a whole lot of hope for this motor, but it's in the truck, it's free, well, it came with the truck, let's put it that way. So we'll see if we can't go ahead and salvage it. You know, this is more of just an exercise to see what I can get away with, more than anything else. I went ahead and dumped a full can of WD-40, getting everything freed up on this. So, you know, it is what it is. Like I said, I don't have a whole lot of faith in this motor, but you never know. Okay, so leave it to farm tools to go ahead and get things undone. I am plucking out the push rods one at a time. The ones that are stuck, this handy dandy fence tool right here. Combination hammer, pliers, so on and so forth. I just give a little tap, tap, tap with the hammer action on this, and then pinch them at the top and pull them on out. And so far it's been working amazingly well. Check this out. I'm going to jinx myself, this isn't going to work. Hell yeah. Okay, now, if this was a motor I really cared about, I'd be taking the time to go ahead and keep everything in order, as far as exact location, you know, which push rod, which rocker went to which cylinder, which valve, so on and so forth. This motor, I just don't care. Again, I don't have much faith in it. If it works, great. If not, so be it. So for now, it's all going in the pan to soak. Okay, so I managed to dump about 3/4 of a gallon of white vinegar, that good stuff right there, down into the cylinders using this funnel right there, and then put the spark plugs back in loosely. And we'll let this sit probably 24 hours would normally be good, but given how much water is in this thing, I think we're probably gonna end up going a good bit longer than that. And again, I have no real hopes or aspirations for this motor. I'm not attached to it. It's nothing special. It's just a generic 350 truck motor. So I'm not really gonna lose too much sleep over this if we go ahead and booger up the cylinder walls worse, or we destroy the pistons a little bit worse than they currently are. So we're gonna let this sit and soak. Meanwhile, I'm gonna go ahead and take some diesel fuel and dump it down these holes right here into the lifter valley and let that sit and soak. And of course, it's all gonna run down in the oil pan along with the vinegar. And so that'll make a really nice soup down the bottom end. But hopefully this is enough that we can actually get the motor moving. Well, there we have it. There's now 2 gallons of diesel fuel down inside the engine block through the lifter valley. So hopefully it is going to be above the top level of the oil pan. I would expect that it would be. And we're going to let that sit and soak along with the vinegar in the cylinders. So basically what I did was make one hell of a salad dressing in the motor. A little bit of oil and vinegar. Diesel oil and vinegar, but you know, whatever. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, no loss. You know, a couple bucks for diesel fuel and vinegar, and my time to go ahead and mess with this. Like I said, I've got a motor I can go ahead and drop in. It's just a matter of trying to go ahead and save this one at least for a little while, and just the challenge. See if we can go ahead and get it running again. Who knows? Anyway, we'll see y'all in a bit. Y'all have a good weekend, and tune in. I'm going to go ahead and do another video once I go ahead and pull the spark plugs back out after this thing's set for a while and let the vinegar do its deal. And we'll see what happens. I'm going to try and turn it over by hand, and if that works, we're going to start putting push rods and whatnot back in, see what happens with that. We'll see. It might work, it might not. Okay, I think we're done with the freaky shadow stuff now. Anyway, y'all have a good weekend. Be safe, be good to each other. This is Shade Tree Joe, and we'll see what happens next with Kimmy's Jimmy. Have a good one. We'll see you.